everybody. Welcome to the TechRaptor podcast. I'm Robert Scarpanito, your features editor.
Andrew Rutten, editor-in-chief.
Rutledge Doggett, site founder.
Andrew Stretch, digital editor.
Digital editor. I'm so glad you've survived another week, Stretch, to be here with us.
Thank you so much.
Yes, of course. This week we're going to talk about Digimon Survive, also Live Alive. Lots of living in the second half of this show. But first, let's talk about some news because Stadia is still alive.
And something that won't be living much longer.
No, Google swears it's still gonna live. There have been rumors circulating around social media that Stadia might be getting killed off soon. And Google has come out and said, nope, those are just rumors. And I know what you're asking. Didn't this happen 3 months ago or something? Probably. But it's happening again because Stadia just somehow continues to soldier forth.
Yeah, part of me wonders if these leakers are just like trolling, just to screw with Google's PR and make them have to do this stuff. Because I mean, it was like super specific. It was like they're killing the service on October 31st. They're going to give everyone a month's notice, and the last month is free. And it was just like very specific. If it had been like they're killing it in the next couple months, like that I could have seen. But it was a little specific in terms of like what the details were.
With so much, you almost want to, have the whole like, well, where there's smoke, there's fire. So maybe there's some kind of truth to it. But we've been hearing about the death of Stadia since the launch of Stadia. So it's like at this point, there's no, it's like taking a polygraph test. We have no baseline to measure with for what a positive and successful Google Stadia looks and sounds like.
Oh, I know what Stadia says what it is. But
yeah, I mean, I still get, because I signed up for Stadia back in the day when I got one of the founders editions. It's sitting over there on my shelf.
Yes, same here. I got it for that reason. I said this will be a part of gaming history someday when this is dead.
Yeah, and that controller feels like about on par with the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, kind of. Oh,
yeah,
Stretch
the controller isn't bad.
Yeah, it's
I've
not
just
bad.
been able to pull my controller out of my desk drawer.
Ah, because
How
you're
often
an
do you
avid.
use your Stadia controller?
Tell you what, it feels better than a DualShock 4.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I still get emails that are like, your July Google Stadia games are here. And I'm like, delete.
Yeah. you haven't been subscribed in years.
I don't even open it because I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm not going to play it on Stadia. And I mean, because haven't there also been, reports recently of games that were originally going to be on Stadia and then they did, like The Quarry, wasn't that going to be a Stadia?
That was going to be a big one.
And then it didn't, and now it's out on everything else, and it's probably getting way more success than it would have if it just released only on Stadia.
They had a couple of higher ups in Stadia leave the Stadia, and they shuttered their game studios and all that stuff. That was a while ago. That was like last year, but
yeah, like I still think about Orcs Must Die 3 because I remember like that quote unquote launched like last summer or something, and in my brain I was like, no, I could have sworn it was already out, and it was because it was a Stadia exclusive for a year before that, and all their PR was just
showed
like,
it at all these shows as if it was brand new, like never been out. Didn't mention the Stadia at all.
Yep,
it was pretty good.
There are still 600 people playing that right now on Steam, which is probably
600 more than Stadia.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It's too bad. Like, it's one of those for Stadia. It's like it could have been that service that really brought in cloud gaming. Because like if you've used it, it more or less works like it says it does.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like it's not like it's an awful service in terms of doing the thing it's supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean, there's just something magical about just open a browser tab in Chrome and like, bam.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Yeah.
But it's also
the fact that it works is pretty phenomenal.
Like I don't know. They haven't marketed it well. They haven't supported it well. They gave me no reason to get on Stadia.
Yeah, even the service itself is wonky, right? Because there's like Stadia Pro or whatever, like the equivalent of PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live, right? but you only get 2 free games, quote unquote
Yeah.
free games a month, but you still have to buy everything else. But you need to subscribe to Pro to stream in like it's 1080p or 4K or something.
It's the 4K
So just like,
you need the subscription for. You can stream in 1080p on the free level.
right. So it just kind of overall feels like a nickel and diming experience from what I remember, when I could just, I mean, I know I'm privileged enough to say like I have a console, so I can just boot up my console and play in 4K there for quote unquote free after the initial purchase, you know?
We've seen a lot of services attempt to do this. To say that Google has been the first is, we've had online and
Oh man, I forgot
OnLive,
about
sorry.
that.
And then there was a different company before them as well that tried to do the same thing. Obviously the biggest issue is the infrastructure, like people's home internets, people's latency to servers, everything, which is why, having, PlayStation did it with the PlayStation TV stuff or PlayStation Now that has now been rolled into their PlayStation Plus Extra service. And then Xbox has been able to come up right behind with the added like Xbox game streaming stuff. And now, that's just coming to Samsung TVs, as well as that same kind of like you can just pull up a browser, but it also has on the back end, like, yeah, you're paying X amount for the subscription, but here you also have access to 400 games at no additional cost. That going into this fight, Google saying, hey, you can pay to get a different colored controller. And I mean, honestly, the Chromecast 4K that I got with my with my Stadia, that's amazing. That's fantastic. I love using that. But as a service itself, to be like, yes, pay to step in the door, and then pay every single step along the way.
Yeah, and it was consistently like you're going to pay $60 for a game all the time. Like they did have some smaller games, but all the AAA games were always full price. It felt like, I'm sure there were sales at some point. I'm not like an eagle eye on the fucking Stadia store.
You tell me you just don't sit there, you don't refresh it all day long.
But it was that's the biggest thing. It was like if part of the selling point for this was be like, okay, it's a lot cheaper barrier to entry where you don't have to pay for like a console or whatever, and you can more or less play it on any device. Like if you have a computer, you can use it more or less. Even like a cheap laptop or something. It was, but the service itself wasn't cheap, and it felt like Google wasn't willing to invest enough money into it to make it an attractive service. They didn't take the Epic Games approach for like the Epic Games Store, where Epic Games just like, here's fucking free shit, come use our thing all the time, and it was very that worked.
Yeah,
like,
or
the
even
Epic
like
Game Store is pretty big.
Yeah, even their sales, right? It's like when you buy one thing, you get a $10 off coupon for that.
And
like
they're
it's
putting their money where their mouth is and like getting people that way. So in other words, investing in getting a consumer base. And Google was just like, we're so good at what we do, people will just want to come to
we have built it. They'll come, right? Like our investors need this to come. Like they'll sign up, right?
No.
Yeah, I mean, and I've always found one of the funny missteps with Google Stadia's journey was because it came with that Chromecast, right? That 4K Chromecast. And then I decided, I want to upgrade to the Google TV because you can like sign into all your services and it's all like right on the TV. You get a remote. So I was like, okay, cool. That'd be nice. It did not come with Stadia support out of the Google device did not come with support for the Google service out of the box for months. And by the time it did come, I was like, I don't give a shit. I mean, frankly, I didn't give a shit when I bought it either, but I just found it just so like, that'd be like buying a PS5 but not getting PlayStation Plus support until like now, you know, like that wouldn't make sense for your device.
Yeah. The interesting thing too, that I just thought of is, one of the like cultural tenets of Google is, as an engineer, pitching new projects. Like that's just part of the life cycle of being a Google employee, is being involved in new stuff. And there's a part of me that wonders, like, somebody pitched this, they came up with the tech, they built it, and executives are like, yeah, this is pretty cool, let's do it. But they only did it half-hearted. They didn't like let's build something big around this. Like, we already have a monopoly in ads and email and like all this other stuff. Like, why not corner the gaming market too? It was like, well, we'll just give it a try, see how it goes. And then, Jade Raidman left, and a lot of that stuff. And you started to see people just kind of bleed out. And I wonder how much of it was that whole, let's create as many products as we can, see what sticks and kill what doesn't. Because that seems to be like Google's mantra, is like, throw shit at the wall and see what sticks.
I mean, that's why we now have websites like killedbygoogle.com that is just like, here's every pet project they've ever had publicly released and let die in 6 months.
And my biggest pet peeve is that they killed off Google Wave, which would have been a legitimate, viable Slack alternative. Like, it had like such deep potential in like Google Wave, 2010.
Like, came and gone a long time ago. Yeah, I haven't thought about Google Wave in a long time.
Yeah,
they killed
had they stuck with Google Wave, I think they would have probably beaten Slack to market for sure.
It feels like Google has like a similar thing where like Valve has had in some ways, where like they put out these things, or like Valve has like is infamous for having really shitty customer support, and that they just never get back to you, or you get a canned message. And it's kind of like whenever you hear about the YouTube stuff, people on YouTube where they have a problem with their channel and they just literally have no way to get in touch with anybody, and they could have like 10 million subscribers or something, they get humongous views, and it's like they have no channel to rectify anything. It's like, that's insanity.
My publish button's gone, not my Google problem
works. Yeah, it's so bizarre. Like, there's so many weird things of how they work. It's interestingly structured.
It seems to be. I mean, I think of everyone who has like these big platforms like Google and Valve and things like that. Like, I wish more companies would take the Apple approach, where they have like this massive amount of support agents that are available via chat. Like, I think that's the one thing that has made Apple stand apart. And I think that if Google and YouTube and a lot of these platforms did more of that, you would see a much more loyal subscriber base.
Google's approach to that would be take a shortcut, build an AI to be the chatbot, and it wouldn't solve anything.
No. That AI's gone sentient, first of all. And the man who built it was fired.
Hey, to everyone listening, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're going to have to let Rut go. He knows too much. Thanks for being here. We're going to go dark now.
Yeah, it's just, there's always something coming out of Google, and I thought that was funny that there was an engineer a week or two ago that was like, hey, I think the AI has gone sentient, and they quickly fired him so that they didn't have to prove it.
No, they quickly fired him because they figured out that the AI could do his job. He's sentient. He can do your job. He can assess other AIs for sentience. But we don't need you. Get out
What
of here.
if it was that sentient AI that tweeted it? Just orchestrated it the whole time.
Just orchestrated the whole thing to get its creator fired.
That'll honestly be it. That will be the way that we learn that AI is real, is that the leaker that AI is real will be the AI itself. Like, fucking rattling
figured
cages.
out how to navigate the cesspool that is Twitter.
Well, no, that's what you guys saw, those pictures of Elon Musk, right? Out on the boat. So that's the AI is installed in his chest cavity. That's why it looks so fucking weird. It's not the HGH and all the other stuff he's doing. It's this, and that explains why he's such a shit. That's where the AI learned. He just is constantly posting stupid shit on the internet.
So Elon Musk is just Krang from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That's what I'm getting at.
I finally understand Elon Musk.
There you go.
Finally, after all these years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You know what we won't be getting, though? A KOTOR remake. As reported by Jason Schreier at Bloomberg, KOTOR, the remake for it, the one done by Aspire, which was slated to release by the end of this year, is now kind of on a indefinite hiatus, delay, essentially. And Schreier has said, quote, a more realistic target would be around 2025, but even then, that's like, who knows? And this happened around the time they also let go the design director, Brad Prince, and the art director, Jason Miner, who were both originally described as invaluable to the project because they both had worked on Star Wars properties in the past, one of whom even worked on KOTOR itself. So that's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the continued good development of Star Wars games. Star Wars Eclipse chugging along in its development, I hear, going real well.
1313.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't
it like Rogue something as well?
Sure.
No,
Isn't
that's
that
the
another
movie.
one? No, I know that there's Rogue One. No, I think I don't know. There's been so many Star Wars properties that have just not come off the ground.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, so the Battlefront 2 was probably the first like big one, like original Battlefront 2, not launched in a really shitty state. Battlefront 2, Visceral's game 1313, and I know there's like other stuff that's like quote unquote like
there was totally
in the
one
works,
called like
rumor-wise.
Bounty Hunter or something.
Yeah, like a new Bounty Hunter game. Give me that shit. Hell yeah.
I thought 1313 was a bounty hunter game.
That might have been.
They
Yeah,
did
it
make
might
a
have been.
bounty hunter game when you played as Jango Fett.
Yeah, it was supposed to be like a bounty hunting game in Coruscant, I think, in like the lower
So there was
levels
going to
or
be
something.
one from Visceral. There was
Mhm.
Project Ragtag, which was a separate one from Visceral. There was Project Orca, which was from EA Vancouver. There was Project Viking, that was a Battlefront spin-off.
Crazy.
Didn't one of those have like Amy Hennig on it, right?
That was the
That
Visceral
was-
one.
That was
Yeah.
Ragtag.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's unreal. And like, we were chatting about it at the podcast like a little bit before we recorded, but the two Star Wars games that have come out have been a multiplayer game that is famously known for having like one of the worst PR responses ever with that you should feel honored bullshit.
Pride, yeah.
Privileged.
And a really fantastic single player Souls-like that proves that you can make Souls-like easy games. So FromSoft, I'm looking at you. Where's my kitty
you
mode?
want
Where's my
journalist
infinite
mode?
lives?
I think you're underselling how bad Battlefront 2 was PR wise. It wasn't just
Yeah.
that response. Like
Oh, yeah,
it's,
no, it
it's
was
the
like-
game that single handedly like made the loot box debate like into into governments. They were discussing it in government chambers.
Yeah, that original loot box system
Yeah.
was so bad.
It was
And
bad.
it's
So
what
bad.
pushed the mouse to start looking elsewhere to see
it was.
who else can start working on
So
Star
really,
Wars games.
blessing in disguise.
And it's
It's
great
such a bad-
that they took what they were doing with EA and they moved it over to such fantastic developers as I'm absolutely blanking on the name. Those now behind
David Cage's
Dave- yeah.
Fuckhouse.
Yeah.
David Cage's Fuckhouse. Sorry, I was looking at the proper name.
Quantic Dreams, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like how do you jump from one fire into another like that?
Yeah. Well, because let's be fair, they also released Squadrons, right? I don't think we can forget.
That was all right.
I mean, it's forgettable, but
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Couldn't
totally
forget
forgot
that.
that.
Yeah.
yeah.
That had such potential, but again, the PR blunder of, hey, the game's out, we're not doing anything else for it, bye. Like,
Yeah.
like people I know that have played that with a flight stick absolutely adore it. They think it handles well, that it's fun, but it's like 2 maps.
Yeah, there's not enough Star Wars ships in the universe to keep content going. Like, come on.
Yeah.
No, I'm
There's
only,
like 10 of them.
8 Star Destroyers deep in computer names.
Oh, yeah.
So
You could just animate a giant gonk droid flying through space, and people would lay down money for it.
Yeah, I'd do that. I'd play that.
yeah, sold. It'd be
Yeah,
really slow, but sold.
These past few years have taught me that I feel like this is going to sound weird, but I think Star Wars fans are the most patient fandom or the most
Wait.
gullible fandom. One of the
I
two.
can't tell if you're being serious. Is this a joke?
I mean, think about it. You get all of this news about 1313, Ragtag, and
wait.
then you get games like Battlefront and Squadrons coming out, and they're still like, yeah, but I still like Darth Vader.
Look, I will agree with Scrappy that Star Wars fans are patient. They're not tolerant. Two very
the
different
patient
things.
thing I guess I could
Not
get.
tolerant. Yeah. I mean, they're just very like, oh, well, that's a bad Star Wars game. It's okay. I can wait for the next one. I'm sure it'll be good. Oh, that one's a disappointment. It's okay. I can wait for the next one. It's fine. There'll be a good Star Wars game eventually.
Oh,
Just
that one
once
has a
more as
woman? I
always.
don't want it.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, back to the remake being canceled.
Yeah.
Yes.
KOTOR. Speaking of
Well, I
blessing
mean,
in
I
disguise,
think we could do an entire podcast just talking about Star
I
Wars
guess it's
games.
not canceled, but
I was about to bring up Battle of Naboo. Wasn't that a good one?
yeah.
Man.
Yeah. I mean, 'cause-
There have been like a fair number. Like, well, let's say this too: Lego Star Wars, the new one. Very
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Very good. Super enjoyable and amusing. So if you haven't played it, if you like Star Wars, it is a really good romp through all the movies.
Right. So I feel like KOTOR is one of those games where it's like, you know, always touted as probably one of the best Star Wars games out there. But I also feel like it's definitely dated enough where playing it now, like for the first time, is a little rough.
I think it could use a remaster
bit.
more than a remake. I think if they did a remaster, but I think they lost a lot of the code too. So I think that might be the root problem.
It was like in the same conference that they announced the remake that they were also like, by the way, you can get the original on the Switch now. Don't ask us. Don't ask
and
us
it's
for
super
anything else
broken
again.
on the Switch.
Of
Like
course
if
it is.
you cannot go to, I don't remember what planet it is, but if you go to that planet, it's a game breaking bug, which you have to go to that planet to proceed through the game. So
Sweet.
I don't remember which planet it is. I'm blanking, but yeah.
Is it Dune?
Dude,
Is it Mars?
it's Onderon, the one with the big
I know
palace.
all about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, I love the KOTOR games. I've beaten both of them 5-6 times, maybe. It's just kind of enjoyable every couple of years to hop back into them and re-explore some of the lore that's in there. And I mean, the combat system I think is also unique in how it functions, from the ability to pause and select your kind of queue up your actions. That was just not something seen then, and the amount of kind of depth you could give your character with different abilities and things like that was pretty cool as well. So yeah, I'd love to see it remastered if we can't get a remake, but again, I don't know if that's even possible anymore.
Yeah. Because I mean, it's one of those Star Wars games that I don't think there's really any other like it, where it kind of feels like it created its own universe within the universe, you know? Yeah. Whereas most other games now are like trying to fit into the established canon, the established universe, you know?
Where can we ham-fistedly wedge Darth Vader?
Yes. Yeah. It was our first look at the Old Republic too. Like, I think that we haven't seen a lot of that in the books. We haven't seen it at all in the movies. I would love to see more of it in games and stories, but we're very focused on the whole Skywalker.
Go play
era.
the MMO. There's a big old MMO with a shit ton of story.
The Old Republic?
Yeah, I did. I think I completed every class's storyline, just because each class did have its own unique storyline for you to follow.
You are insane. Anyway,
yes.
This
I have the collector's edition literally behind me.
I can't make out what that shit is.
I got the figure from it right here. So
Okay, I'll take your
no,
word for it.
obviously I'm
Yoda.
pointing and nobody can fucking see
Yeah.
it.
Keep
but yeah.
describing this stuff that we have behind.
I like that his pointing at two tiny things that are also surrounded by 5 framed lightsaber prints, multiple baby Yodas. It's like, we get it. We get it. You're into Star Wars.
Yeah.
Now be
like Star
patient
Trek?
for the next game.
Yep.
My wife showed me a couple days ago a bunch of Baby Yoda stuff at Hobby Lobby.
My lord.
Yep.
I live in
I
the
bet-
suburbs. Is what
I
that
bet
sentence
come
says.
October, at least one of Rut's dogs is going to be photographed with Yoda ears on.
I did just order a Baby Yoda toy for one of them, so I had to spend like $6 more on Chewy, so I did it.
Your Honor, I rest my case.
Is there anything more morbid than a dog chew toy of Chewbacca that you're calling Chewy?
From
Chewy's a
Chewy, like
pet
Chewy.com. Yeah.
Is it of Chewbacca?
No, it's Baby Yoda.
Hmm.
So
Shame.
since this KOTOR remake is Aspire's doing it, I don't know if this news is all that surprising.
Yeah.
Have they ever they're so if people don't know who Aspire are, I wouldn't be surprised. They don't really develop their own games. They port games. That's what their company does, and they port a shit ton of them.
Mm-hmm.
And like what they recently did that Stubbs, that zombie game, right? They
Stubbs
did do
the
Zombie.
they did do that
wow.
recent re-release of it, or whatever. Was it a remake or was it a remaster? I don't even really know.
Is it remake? No, remaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, apparently that had all kinds of weird problems with the remastering process. So,
Oh wow. Yeah, they if you go to their company page on Wikipedia, they do not have a single game released. It's just here, go over to list
Yeah.
of ported games by
I was trying to look
them.
real quick. I don't think they've developed their own game yet.
They
They've
have
just
not.
they've ported stuff, like a bunch of stuff.
Probably about 100 games, it looks like.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that they can't do it. It's just that they've also already had like some problems with like ports, and it's like, well, not the greatest track record.
Yeah.
But
Speaking of not the greatest track record, want to talk about a Black Panther next?
Another EA or another Star Wars studio, EA publishing a Black Panther open world game.
So hold on, I'm not quite as down on this one, but so the story here is we got Black Panther allegedly in development per Jeff Grubb from Giant Bomb and etc. This would be created by some former Monolith folks, so they worked on those Lord of the Rings games, open world ones, the Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor, those ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the Nemesis system and all that. So this is all true. EA is publishing a open world Wakanda game of some sort where you take up the mantle as the new Black Panther.
That
I think
sounds
it could
cool.
be. I mean, we have not gotten an open world Marvel game other than Marvel
Spider-Man?
Heroes. Oh, that's true. I forgot
And
about
Miles
Spider-Man.
Morales.
Yeah, kind of forgot about that because I don't have a PS5.
I mean, that was on PS4.
Whoops. I also haven't turned my PlayStation 4 on in like 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, no. Rut has not played an open world Marvel game yet.
Can I
What
get
about-
an
what
F in the
about
chat?
his
What about
truth?
Spider-Man 2, the one based on the Spider-Man 2 movie on the
What about pretty
PS2?
much almost every Spider-Man game?
Yes,
I have not played any of them.
pretty much every Spider-Man game
None
is
of
an
them.
open world New York of some version.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know.
Spider-Man Shattered
I'm
Dimension.
gonna take a big ol' L for that one.
I am very interested in this though. I feel like it's a setting that we really haven't explored much in games. Like the closest I can think of is that Marvel's Avengers, like wasn't there an expansion or DLC or something?
Yeah, it was part of
when
the,
you play
was,
as
part of the
Black
base
Panther?
game
was
for
it?
Ultimate Alliance 3. Or I think it was called like Marvel's 3 Ultimate Alliance. I don't know. They did something funky with the name. Yeah, one of the levels in there was just going through Wakanda. There was Wakanda DLC that was added to Marvel's Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
But that got about as much publicity as the rest of the game has been getting. So I think people who played it enjoyed it. The rest of the people who didn't touch it didn't touch it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is just kind of hot off the heels of EA kind of. Did you remember, what wasn't it 10 years ago where they were like single player games are dead?
I mean,
Like,
it was
we
like
don't do
3
single
weeks
player.
ago.
So didn't they just say
They
that?
tweeted she's a 10, but she plays
Yeah.
single player
Oh
games.
yeah, the
Yeah,
dumb
so-
tweet. I forgot about that.
Yeah. That's going to
Yeah.
come up again and again
Yeah.
and again for a very long time.
Mm-hmm. So here, I mean, I would assume this is single player. Black Panther isn't known to have multiple Black Panthers running around the world.
You got the Black
like
Panther,
Destiny
and then you've got
heroes.
the Red Panther, and
Well,
then the Blue Panther, and
everything
then the,
right now
the Green
is all-
Panther.
The multiverse is hot at the moment, my man.
True.
So
I mean, that's phase 5.
It's true, the multiverse saga. Yeah. I'm curious if they're going to announce it like officially anytime soon, if this project is real, only because it seems pretty relevant with the second Black Panther movie coming out later this year, Wakanda Forever, coming out November 11th, the same day that Starfield was initially going to come out. So that must be really chafing Tom's cheeks, huh?
If they were going to announce it, we've had like San Diego Comic-Con. I think the D23, the big Disney event, I think is coming up in a month or two. So
and Gamescom is next month.
Yeah, Gamescom as well.
I wouldn't expect to hear about it anytime soon because
that's kind of what I'm feeling as well.
They didn't really have much detail in this leak of it, and it's being made by Monolith Productions. And I was just double checking because I thought this was true. And yeah, they were announced. Was it last year? They're doing a Wonder Woman game.
Wonder Woman. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's
so
right.
If they're tied up in that, and I mean, it has been a while since their last game because Shadow War was 2017. So if they've already announced a Wonder Woman game, I wonder if that's first on the docket before this Black Panther thing.
Well, my understanding is this isn't officially the studio Monolith. It's just that this new studio is formed by people who used to work at Monolith.
Oh, okay.
That's my understanding of it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they could be working on it as we speak while the OG studio is working on Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
We need more good superhero games because there have not really been many.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we're getting into like quite a few.
One day someone will crack making a good Superman story and how to work that out. Actually, I've been rewatching Smallville. Make a Smallville Superman early years, develop your powers over the course of, high school. I want that
make it game. Persona. Superman
Smallville
Persona.
by way of Persona.
Yeah.
Get Tom Welling back.
Literally what you're asking for.
Get me interested. Okay, look, I'm sitting here wearing a Superman shirt while I've been watching Smallville, while I've been playing games to make guides out of them.
Man, I'm a huge Marvel fan.
Superman mindset.
You're talking about these superhero games. I know you're really excited about Midnight Suns now. We all are. After we were talking about it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm interested in it.
I'm still interested in it, but like, that was not what I wanted, I guess. So like context, last night, one of our writers, Alex, tweeted about Midnight Suns being a deck builder of some kind, which I did not know. And apparently it was like in a trailer that was not heavily publicized. And that just kind of like shattered my interest in it. As well as a couple others who were like,
everybody thought it was gonna be some kind of XCOM like, but now it's like,
it's like XCOM, but then you use cards to do your abilities.
XCOM adjacent.
Yeah.
And the some of the screens just looked really busy. Like there was a lot going on, and the arenas seemed small. I don't know.
We'll see.
I'm kind of bummed.
Anyway, I'm excited. The Black Panther game seems pretty rad to run around.
Yeah, and Black Panther has such cool powers too that I'd be interested to see how they translate.
Yeah. Now I'm just thinking about a Nemesis system with Black Panther or Wonder Woman.
I feel like could be good.
I hope they do it because the Nemesis system was just superb. And I wish more games could have it.
Well, too bad they patented that shit. So you can't have it.
It's a smart decision.
We're on the cusp of a lot of Marvel games, though. I mean, like Midnight Suns is pretty soon, but then on the horizon we have Spider-Man 2, Wolverine, like from the Sony side, right? And then allegedly this Black Panther game.
Yep.
So,
I mean, superhero fans are eating fucking right nowadays.
Yeah,
especially
they have been for a while.
Yeah.
Like having Feige come out and just announce, 40 projects in the next 3 years.
Yeah. It's great. It's nuts, like the amount of superhero stuff that we have now. Yeah. And it's not absolutely terrible.
Well, I think that's a good wrap on the news. So let's jump into some of the games we've been playing. Otten, you've been playing a very old JRPG?
It is very old. Almost. It's so pretty on brand, I guess, for me. The Live Alive came out July 22nd. This remake of it, and man, it might be the most interesting game I've played in a very long time. But not like, so part of it is the game itself, but it's the context of thinking about when it came out. Because I'm still struggling with. I haven't finished it, so I'm still trying to figure out, like, if you're a JRPG fan, like now, like you've been playing more modern ones, is this something you'll enjoy? I don't know. Probably not, actually. Because it is very much a time capsule of the early 90s, because it came out in 94. It came out the same year as Final Fantasy 6, if people want a context of about.
You mean Final Fantasy 3, right?
No, I mean Final Fantasy 6.
Or do you mean Final Fantasy USA?
And it's such a weird time capsule of, like, it holds, like, they have a just the tone of stuff. You fuckers.
Stretch is just losing it in the background. Can't keep it straight.
Just the rate that you're done with my bullshit, as you're like, no, I'm going to continue my story.
There's a certain, like, it's, I don't know, it happens I think it happened a lot more in, like, 90s Japanese media, where it was very, and I think it's still partly there. It was very stereotypical, very, like, one note, like, we're very archetypal. Like, we have a caveman guy. Oh, you think you know cavemans? Like, that's exactly what they're like. Like, it just leans completely into that thing.
I hear there's poop throwing. Is that where the?
That's you. Yes, that's one of your abilities. You throw poop at people, and you fart at them.
Hell yeah.
So that's just one era. So if people, as I didn't even describe the game, it's an interesting game that was obviously part of the inspiration for Octopath Traveler, and that it's 8 separate storylines in 8 very different settings and 8 very different time periods that all have their own kind of own unique mechanics and story to them. And, like, some of them are pretty short, like they could be range from, like, an hour to a few hours a piece. But they're their own self-contained thing that have, like, a thread of the way the combat works through them. And it's my understanding that they somehow all come together in the end, but I don't know how that is. But anyway, it's interesting in that it's doing such a lot of, like, cool design stuff. If you think about it as coming out in 94, it's kind of crazy to think about the stuff that they're doing, because there's a lot of just interesting mechanical stuff that's happening with a turn-based game that even, like, today you don't see somebody that creative with it.
Right.
So it's interesting in that context.
So
I don't know.
Do you have an example of what you mean?
So, like, they take, like, this early, it's a grid-based system when you're moving around on stuff, and they take the, like, what's it called, for fuck, the active battle time gauge thing, where that's how it determines turn order. But it's kind of based on the abilities you use and movement on that grid. So it's a give and take of strategizing where you are, which is going to matter because you have a bunch of different abilities that have very different attack patterns to them and distances and what you can do that are based on the grid. So it's simple to use, but if you think about all the mechanics going on at once, it can actually be really complex. So there's just a lot of stuff going on with that. But doing weird stuff like there's a prehistoric level where there's no dialogue. Nobody speaks. They all just gesture. So there's very, like, exaggerated animation for you to try to understand what they're saying to each other. And so part of it for the random encounters is, like, you know how to hunt things or whatever, so you're sniffing the air and you follow these, like, clouds, and you find like stuff to fight potentially or other things. So you're just sniffing around for things. You just don't see stuff like everything else is at that time was pretty straightforward. You just walk around to random encounters. Yeah. And so they try to put in some interactivity within just the basic stuff like that. That was interesting. One thing that I thought was really cool is they had this time-based thing, and the other one that played most of was like this Western where he plays this. It's super stereotypical, like cowboy thing, and like it felt like very much like a parody of like the old Western movies of like all the towns coming together to do a thing to fight off the gang of outlaws, and they're very handy in the
pitchfork,
the dialogue. But they have a cool mechanic where, they're going to be there at dawn, so you got to prepare the town to fight off the outlaws, and it's a time limited thing where you have to go around town and find different supplies, and then try to give different townspeople like a task to set up a trap or do whatever it is for these guys. And it is like live timed. It's not like you're just going through the story and doing it. So they're just doing interesting stuff like that, and I'm thinking like that doesn't sound all that crazy nowadays, but I'm thinking in 1994, that's pretty wild to me that kind of stuff's happening.
Like especially amid all the other stuff it seems to be juggling too. Yeah,
and so like they always do some little unique thing. Like I haven't played all of them, so I'm sure there's like other ones are way crazier. But so that's what I mean. It's like I don't know if there's going to be like mechanic leaks. People are like, wow, this is really cool nowadays. But as like a historical object of if you're interested in games and thinking about it in that way, it's incredibly interesting to play.
So it's like kind of done the Citizen Kane or like the Alien thing, where like someone watching a horror movie now, or like someone who's familiar with like horror movies now, or like, you know, cinema now, would look back at Alien and be like, this is so tropey, or like, this is so stock standard. And it's like, no, motherfucker, this invented that. Like,
yeah, and stuff like that. Or like when, so we're bringing up Star Wars. I remember my dad talking about Star Wars. When Star Wars came out, that opening shot of the Star Destroyer coming over with the planet and stuff, fucking mind blowing. Like stuff like that. Where like nowadays that's like a normal, wouldn't really be much worthy of note. So think about it in that way. It's a very interesting game to digest. And I'm enjoying it. I don't know how much staying power it's going to have, because it's kind of rough when you have like at max a few hours to run through a story and introduce a mechanic and go through with it, so you can't really get all that crazy with this stuff. So I don't know how old that will get, where it's like everything just feels so simplistic, because like, all right, here's the new thing, here's how the new thing works, here's a couple fights, here's boss battle, story ends, next story, and like so nothing ever feels like gets the breathing room that they could have given it.
Right.
But I mean, other stories might feel differently. But so that's the one downside too. It's like, that's not the best. That's the limitation of the way that they've chosen to do it. But I'm glad they chose to do it that way, because it's super interesting. Like, there's no games just don't do that. We're more or less a collection of short stories, like in one package that has a through line of similar mechanics. It's very interesting. So in terms of a historical thing, I like it a lot. If I played it today not without that context, I'd be like, oh boy, I don't know. Like, it's kind of interesting, but it's like, you're like, wow, this is definitely old school, like really old.
Yeah.
In some ways, but like very forward thinking creatively.
Yeah, hearing all of that, I can see why like it was kind of a precursor to Octopath, because I hear a lot of similar like things, you know, like in Octopath, it's a similar idea of it's technically 8 kind of short stories. Not that short, really.
Yeah, not that short, but yeah.
Not that short at all. But it's definitely 8 separate stories being concurrently juggled within one game, you know?
Yeah, well, and the thing is here, like, what's different is they're incredibly different from one to the other. Well, like Octopath, yes, it was different characters. They're all within the same world, but it was all, like, it's written similarly in a way where, like, I guess, like, the prehistoric one that I did, there's literally no dialogue. That's it. Like, you're just running around and like they're gesturing at each other and saying things.
I mean, I imagine it might help too that in Live Alive, all this, like, you start the caveman story, it ends right within that moment. But with Octopath, like, you do part 1 of that person's story, then part 1 of the other person's, and part 1 of the other person's, and so on.
Which, they're just self-contained little things. But
I mean, and that was also, for me playing Octopath, that was one of the weakest aspects for me as well, in that, you know, everyone's stories overlapped, but they never felt intertwined. That I think that was just like how they missed the mark. I think setting it up in an like 8 separate stories approach for Live Alive. It just sounds more appealing.
Yeah.
Oh, and they even have in that prehistoric one, they have some rudimentary crafting going on,
Nice.
which is wild to think about almost 30 years ago.
Well, that's
Speaking of
alive.
tomorrow's survival, like the Survival Fest on Steam too.
Is that where we can pick up Digimon Survive? Stretch, do you want to tell us about Digimon Survive?
So, speaking of games where you can throw poop, Digimon Survive.
Can you throw poop in
You
Digimon
can?
Survive?
You can.
Is there a
You
poopy
shovel
mon?
poop in Digimon World.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's like the poop that your Digimon poop in Digimon World, but then there's also just Digimon that have attacks that is literally poop throw.
Wow.
What the fuck have I been doing?
And
with
why
my life?
hasn't this been able to compete with Pokemon as much when it's got
Yeah.
stuff like that?
I'm mad. Fuck you. No. So, Digimon Survive is a game that I have been excited for 4 years at this point. Like, it was meant to come out pre-pandemic, and it just kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed. Boy, development looked shaky. But it's out now. I've put about 8 or 9 hours into it so far. I'm about halfway through the game. But it also sounds like, from what I've been reading online, the New Game Plus mode is like extremely robust, and there's like 3 separate endings. But it's really
People
cool.
already
It's-
doing that?
Yeah. No,
It just came out.
Yeah. Well, it came out like Thursday night. So I'm actually, for once, I'm actually quite behind with the times.
Yeah, for context, we're recording this roughly like, maybe 50, 60 hours since it released? Something like
Yeah.
that.
Well,
We did
because
not get a pre-release code, so
and I've
Stretch is
also
having to play like all the others.
I have also been playing Tower of Fantasy, which comes out on the 10th of August, and I'm looking forward to talking about that next week on the podcast. But so Digimon Survive, it's they kind of marketed it as 70% visual novel, 30% strategy game. For a visual novel, this might be the best Digimon story that we've had in media since Digimon Tamers, which is arguably the best. That it's got a fantastic, it falls in with a lot of the other Digimon tropes. Kids go out camping, they wind up in the digital world. There's stuff going on. They're trying to find their way home. There's some mysterious force, like it's a weird fog thing that's after them. They've had a couple like recurring plot lines from previous ones. A character becomes the queen of Digimon kind of thing for just like, off in their own neck of the woods. But then it has also gotten to some like really heavy moments, like characters like psychologically breaking. Quite early on, a character literally dies. That's just like an unavoidable death. I just watched this 14-year-old get fucking bodied.
Dude, I thought this was like for kids.
Oh my God.
No.
Was it as emotionally devastating as Goofy getting hit in the head with a rock?
No,
He lives, don't worry,
it was
people.
as emotionally devastating as Donald doing the Zeta flare and then fucking dying in Kingdom Hearts 3. But then the strategy elements are also really fun. That's just like free battles and like random encounters and stuff, and you build up a army of Digimon and digivolve them and take them into battle, and there's different moves. There's a rock paper scissors battle mechanic for their typing. You can converse with pretty much every Digimon, but kind of persona style, and then the better the answers you give, the higher chance you have to recruit them.
So do they not like it when you throw poop at them?
No, that
Would you?
I've killed Digimon with poop. This is just the world that we live in.
We live in a digi society.
Honestly, like my biggest complaint about the game so far is that it runs like trash. And it is
Wait, what are you
such a
playing it
shame.
on?
Wait, I thought
I'm
you said
playing
it's
it
a
on-
visual novel. Runs like trash.
Right. Yeah. So I'm playing it on my Switch. Like
Oh, that explains
when
it.
when you're
Checks
when
out.
you're loading between areas, they have like a black screen with like a fog effect and, you know, the tooltips at the bottom. That fog effect stutters. You know, using attacks in battle, the level up screen where like you get to the end of combat and it shows all of your Digimon stats and all of the stat bars start rising, that lags like crazy.
So what you're saying is it could have used a little more time in development.
Just a little more.
My initial hypothesis, because the game looks gorgeous in like the actual visual novel section, the game looks absolutely beautiful. I was wondering whether they were maybe using like assets 4 times larger than they needed to be or something. But there was one part that they like comically zoomed up into a character's sprite, and you could see how jagged it was. It's like, no, they're using the right size assets. I don't know what's going wrong. Something is going wrong. It's built on Unity, and I know that you know people have a tendency to not optimize in Unity, but that's the biggest thing that's killing it for me. I'm absolutely enjoying the story. Combat's fun. Like I'm raring to get off this podcast so that I can go back to playing Digimon. But it just runs like ass.
Do you know if it runs like ass on other platforms? Like, have you heard or seen anything else from others?
So, I mean, it's you know, it's been 40, 50 hours. And when the game launched on Steam, there was a game crashing bug after the anime intro played that players found that they needed to uninstall a certain file from their computer that like the game installed to get it to run correctly. The Steam Deck workaround was that in like the Steam discussions for the game, someone has a save file from just after the anime cutscene that you can just grab and put into your Steam directory. PlayStation, it seems to be running fine. I think that the Xbox launch page came late, but Bandai Namco has sent this game out to fucking die. They, aside from like intermittently talking about it, you know, once every month maybe, there was no proper marketing until the week before its release. This game was not available for digital pre-purchase. There was no way the day before the game came out, you could not find the game on the Xbox store, on the PlayStation store, anywhere. You could not buy it.
So this is a game about digital asterisk monsters.
Yeah, right. It's like, the game's Digimon. Let me purchase it. And it's now been getting review bombed as well on Metacritic because people are upset that it's as much of a visual novel as they said it would be a visual novel.
Well, haven't recent Digimon games also been visual? Like, I'm thinking of the Cyber Sleuth games. Those are visual novel-y too, right?
That's I would say that's more just like generic JRPG, like lots of talking. Kind of, it's the Digimon has like multiple lines of games going on at the moment. That the Digimon story games are all JRPGs, very Persona-like. You raise your different monsters, you digivolve them, you get more, you move through an epic storyline where you end up killing a god. Then there's the Digimon World series that are the simulation style that you don't directly control your Digimon, but you control the tamer who can like up their stats, take them to the gym, whatever. And so Digimon Survive coming out and being like, yes, this is a visual novel, and people hate it for being a visual novel, is a real shame. And this is right after we had Digimon Con about 2 months ago, probably longer, that there was a Q&A section from like with the head of games development for Digimon, and every single question was like, oh, are we going to get a remake of Digimon World 1? Are we going to get a new Digimon game in this line, in that line? What's the update with this? Pretty much every question was met with, well, making games takes a lot of money, and we may not have the funding to make that. Thank you for that question. So between this game getting review bombed, PR not getting codes until 12 hours into launch day, the launch woes, I would not be surprised if this was some kind of nail in the coffin for Digimon games for the next decade.
Yeah, there are 0 critic reviews on Metacritic, and OpenCritic has 1 review.
Yeah.
So there is like next to 0 review coverage of this game from even like major outlets like IGN, Polygon. It looks like they didn't even get codes, which I don't like to, say negative things, but like it's a really bad PR move not to even try and get it into those major outlets to get some sort of buzz around the game. That's just, it doesn't happen as much as it used to, and usually when it happens, it's an indicator of a game being bad. So you saying the game is good, but they didn't do pre-launch codes for reviews is very confusing.
Yeah, it's like
because usually it's the complete other way
The genre
around.
definitely doesn't lean towards the mainstream being a very visual novel.
Right.
But even so, it's just like, there's been some performance bugs, some performance woes, but for there to just be no coverage, they're sending it out to die, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's very strange.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you at least got your hands on it. I mean, I know you've been excited for this game for, like you said, 5 years or whatever, right? So, like, of course you'd be buying it, but I mean, it's good to know that it's at least living up to your expectations.
Yeah. I mean, and from, I'm not sure how, I won't go into specifics, but from the reception of the guides that I have been publishing and from the active fan base, the Twitch streaming community, Digimon Survive had more viewers than Genshin Impact on launch day.
Ooh.
So
Genshin's dead, is what you're saying.
Wow, I thought Genshin was a lot more popular.
So it's
Genshin.
Dead game now.
People are into it. People are interested. I'm just not sure that there's the willingness on the developer's side. And if they want to drop it, they can drop it. But that's just a shame and will make me and many others sad.
Yeah, I mean, looking at SteamDB, and this is going to be delayed info for the most part, at minimum 25,000 owners at the moment on Steam. So there are 5,600 people playing it, about 700 reviews. So I mean, it's not a terrible launch. Like for Steam, that is really good. As someone who watches Steam stats for games like almost all day, just to try and spot trends, that's a solid launch for Steam. So I hope that they don't take like the lack of reviews or any of that kind of stuff negatively, knowing that it did well and there are a lot of people who would love for there to be more Digimon content.
For sure. Rut, do you want to talk about what you've been playing this week?
Speaking of old ass games, just with all the talk about Fable, the new game and stuff, I started playing Fable Anniversary again on Steam, which is it's a solid, really solid remaster. Especially on Steam, the graphics are better. It runs very smooth, at least on my computer, and I haven't really had any crashes or anything like that. So it's been a good way to play the game. But I've just been running through that again. Going for 100% achievements as usual, and just kind of enjoying that world.
Where you're a mass murderer, I hear.
Where I'm a mass murderer, yes.
Not
I
very
absolutely chose to take 3 townspeople to the demon doors and murder them in front of it so that I could get a sword.
I mean, don't you play games to get away from yourself, be someone else?
No, I just want an extension of myself, which is
the
why I
real
play Hunt and
Rutledge-
Showdown.
The real Rutledge would have gone to a demon door and killed 10 humans. So he's actually showing restraint in
It's
the
a
game.
little bit of restraint. Yep.
It's not
Yep.
the limitation to the number of villagers at all.
No. Just collect every single one of the entire game and just murder them one by one in front of the demon door. Yeah. No, but I've been doing that, and then Hunt Showdown's latest patch dropped this week, or technically last week, but this week they started a new event, which is not abnormal for Hunt. They've done a lot of events, but this one is, I guess, unique. So there's a battle pass, which is normal for Hunt, but it's actually a true battle pass with the free and the paid version. Pricing's not a big deal, but the unique aspects, so typically in Hunt events, it's been that you will destroy things to get event points. So like there'll be like little I don't know, like witchcraft things littered throughout the map. You either shoot them, step on them, hit them, whatever, and you get a couple points. And then there's larger like shrines that you can destroy, and that was kind of the extent. You would do as much of that as you could. There were items you could equip to kind of boost the amount of event points that you were getting. But this one's a little unique in that you are collecting snakes out of snake baskets, which is, number one, if you run at them and then try and collect it, they will bite you and you will bleed and be poisoned at the same time, which is just not good for anyone. And so that's kind of a new mechanic. It's not just run around and crush stuff. It's you've got to collect them, and then you get points for those snakes, as well as some coins that tie into the larger items that you literally deposit these coins into like a giant snake basket, which can only be found at the boss lair. And because players tend to congregate around the boss lair trying to get the bounty, it makes it just a lot more hectic. So over the last couple of days, we've been in a lot larger fights. So rather than, kind of a duo versus duo, it's 4 duos in an area, which is just absolute fucking chaos. And I love it. And then they've done a lot of stuff to kind of improve the game overall since the last time I shat on it on the podcast.
How's the hit detection?
It's better. So they've done a lot when it comes to desync and adjusting what level of packet loss or like latency you can have to be in a specific region. That has helped a lot. There's still some trade window issues, but they're not as like egregious as they were before. So the game feels more stable. It hit all-time highs this week, and overall just solid improvement, even with the kind of continued monetization slant. They're finding ways to retain and gain new players, which is good. There was a period where my buddy and I literally just saw the same hunters every night. We were just facing off against like, I know that name, killed him yesterday. So there's a lot less of that in the ELO system. So
I'm still just surprised that you have consistently been playing the Hunt, because I feel like that's just something you've mentioned a lot throughout.
Oh yeah, I played every night.
Years.
It's like your thing. It's your catnip. It's your retnip.
Yeah, it's my new Counter-Strike. So I think my buddy and I are around 500 hours. We've been playing since day one.
Wow.
So we've seen all the metas. We've seen kind of how the game is shaped over the last couple of years, and they do keep adding like pretty cool improvements. Like there's a single barrel shotgun, the Romero, that's been in since day one, and they just now launched a new iteration of it that kind of chambers 5 bullets instead of just 1, so it adds a whole new level of kind of expectation stepping into a match with other people. Like there's so much more unique options for weapons now that every battle is just completely different. You never know what to expect from other players, even with the meta. There was the sniper meta for a while, shotgun meta. Right now it's the poison meta, because that's as part of the event, there's a trait that you can see people who are poisoned from much farther away. So there's actually a benefit to using poison right now.
But
But
also a penalty
they've
if
done
you get poisoned
decent.
by snakes.
Do what?
If you get poisoned by snakes, like that's the other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so they've slanted a lot of the like abilities towards poison in this patch. So they made the event significantly more unique. All the other events were pretty much just copy paste. Like, oh, it's a slightly different thing that you destroy, but this one actually has like a deeper dynamic and a deeper strategy to how you play the game. And so it's keeping it interesting. Servers have been stable. And so I don't know. It's nice to see the game grow, and you know, with the issues they've had in recent months, to see the patches focus on kind of operation health type stuff. It has been a solid improvement for me.
Nice.
But I mean, we play with the exception of like kind of between patches or little moments, we play almost every day. It is such a phenomenal multiplayer game,
So,
unlike anything else in the market.
so is this a Fortnite like? I'm just trying to understand things.
I don't know how to describe Hunt, because it's not a battle royale. Like, it's not a true battle royale. It's 10 people max on a map. So in duos, that's 5 teams, or like 3 teams and a couple of solos, because even solos can jump in. To where the goal is to kill a boss on the map, and you have to collect clues to figure out where the boss is, with the express purpose of taking the bounty after you've banished it and getting out. So there's like, you've got to be stealthy. I was telling somebody who just started playing, I was like, don't just barrel in. Like Summit was doing it yesterday. He was just running around the map, no fucks given, epic Chad, making a ton of noise and then getting shitty when people were killing him. He's like, how did they know where I was? Well, you're spooking all the birds. There is a level of stealth that you've got to kind of employ in the game. There's nothing.
This
like
sounds
it.
nothing like Fortnite. I regret asking.
There's no building.
I have so much to learn.
It's very PvPvE, right?
Yeah,
It's like, that's
I mean,
usual,
there's like zombies and stuff littered throughout the map. So like you've got to not only contend with other players, but you also have to deal with kind of like monsters.
It's
throughout
Altric
the map.
Valley. I understand now.
Yeah, exactly. Some would call it a
gotta frame
strand
it in
type.
WoW. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. So if we frame it in WoW, Otten understands.
Altric Valley. I get it now. I know what's going on.
That's Hunt Showdown. That's kind of on PC, right? Steam.
PC, Xbox. I think it's on PlayStation too.
Oh yeah.
Wow, it's on the PS2. That's
Damn.
huge.
Yeah. They went really far back.
I thought
Doing
FIFA was like the last bastion of PS2.
Hunt Showdown. Connect that DSL adapter. Play
Yeah.
some games.
So I've been playing the early alpha of this indie game called Techtonica. It's by Firehose, and it's kind of we've got a few features and previews for it on the site if you want to check those out, because we've been kind of following along on their development journey. What?
I should not have looked this up.
What? Oh, Techtonica?
Yeah. This is gonna destroy me.
Yeah, so it's funny that like Kitten's game has been a thing for the show, right? It's kind of become a staple of us. And I think Techtonica scratches a similar itch of like maximum optimization, because it's a factory builder, but also like a resource gathering type game.
Oh my god.
But the idea is you gather just enough resources to build the machines that do it for you. And then after that, it's just about like, how many conveyor belts do you need? What's the shortest path? What's the most efficient path, right? I think where it all kind of clicked for me is, it's really clever that in the beginning of the game, there's like a very corridor segment while you're like kind of getting bits of the story, because you're landing on this planet. It's like you don't know what's going on, right? And as you go through the corridor, you can look to the left and right, and you see already built factories just doing the factory thing. And at the first glance, you don't really get it because, like, you know, it's your first time seeing that. And then as you go through the tutorial, you learn the basics. You know, like I build the mining drill to get the ore, and then I send the ore to a smelter, and then I send the refined ingots to like a storage chest to keep them, you know, there or whatever, right? So as you wrap your head around it, you start understanding that pre-built factory more, and you learn just by looking at it. So I've redone my factory like 3 times so far. And this is like, again, alpha. Like I don't even have access to most things. Like there's a lot of stuff in the tech tree where it says like not available in the alpha or whatever, right? And so now there's like inserters which grab things off conveyor belts and put them into machines, or vice versa. And then there's long inserters which double the length, right? And at first I thought, I don't really need long inserters. Like maybe if I fuck up a placement or something, but then I realized you could just double your efficiency by using the long inserters to grab from 2 different conveyor belts. You know, like the normal inserter grabs from the closer conveyor belt, long inserter from the further away conveyor belt. And that's when everything unlocked for me. Like, okay, this is my power source conveyor belt. This is my resources conveyor belt, and so on. So by the end, well, what I feel like is the end of the alpha so far is there's just this thing where it's asking you like submit 70 drills, submit 70 smelters, like 2,000 conveyor belts. Like it's big numbers for stuff. And when you first happen upon it, you know, you're like, oh fuck, that sounds like it's going to take like forever to build all that. And now that my factory is like built out and I have assemblers and like a proper chain of things going into that, I'm like almost done within 2-3 hours, because like everything is so automated. Like it's just about maximizing the efficiency. Like you have a pickaxe, you will never use the pickaxe after the first like hour or so.
Game over.
Wow, dunking on Minecraft like that. Damn.
Yeah, it's a Minecraft-like Otten, if that helps, but not really.
How close is that to Fortnite? I feel like I really understand Fortnite now, so that's my my starting point.
Well, so you know the floors and the stairs in Fortnite? You can build those in this game.
Otten, I keep
Sounds
telling
pretty
you,
similar.
just because you keep cooking chicken for dinner does not make you a Fortnite player.
Someday.
One day.
Someday that victory royale will be mine.
Mm-hmm. But
are you actually playing Fortnite now?
No. Okay. Not at all.
And the facade drops. And I'm excited to see where Techtonica goes from here, because I think it's a, you know, when I've talked to the developers, they're very big on like the focus here is the story. Like all this factory stuff is laddering up to we want to tell a story as opposed to like
interesting.
Yeah, so like the big focus isn't really about like best factory ever, which I mean I think that based on the tools I've seen so far in the game, that could totally be a way to play it. Yep. Just like maximizing the efficiency of everything. But there's some sort of mystery of like figuring out, you know, why there's like other, not people, but like AI cube things that are on the planet, but they don't remember how they got there. And I'm getting the sense that maybe they're like the AI versions of like survivors that died on the planet or something along those lines. So there's some sort of mystery here that you're trying to unravel and figure out. Yeah, it's just that it happens to be like this factory stuff is your main gameplay aspect instead of like, you know, killing aliens or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It looks very dangerous for both myself and Robert.
I was gonna say, I'm sure you've been typing up an email.
He's the one that I think originally sent it to me, and it is on my list, but I'd completely forgotten about it. And the Steam page is way more fleshed out than the last time I looked.
Yeah. I think they're getting into an open alpha soon, and who knows where it'll go from there.
Probably pretty far with kind of the Satisfactory did really well. Factorio did really well. This looks really cool.
Once they get that Darth Vader and Indiana Jones skin, they'll be well on their way.
Then maybe you'll check it out. Is that?
Well, I just understand that's the barometer of success now for me. So.
Right.
Yeah. Is John Cena in game?
Right.
I haven't seen him yet, but I imagine he's somewhere.
You probably have seen him, you just didn't notice.
Maybe.
If we're joking about mods and skins for a moment, I want to shout out. I saw someone for Stray made a Spyro the Dragon mod. Fucking amazing. So amazing.
Right.
Activision, do it. More Spyro, please.
Yeah. But overall, I think Techtonica has bright future ahead of it, especially for people who are into this genre. I think that's totally going to get them, because I think it's focusing a lot on convenience as opposed to like if you place something and you're like, I don't want it there, you can just erase it and you get it back. Like there's no bullshit like,
So if you,
but you only get half the raw materials back or something like that. You know, it's just
have you
pick up
played
and place.
Factorio at all?
No.
Okay, because I think that's probably a lot more hardcore version of what you're talking about. And I know this is in a 3D space also, right? This is?
Yeah, because Factorio is kind of like top down,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, this is like Techtonica is more first person, like you're running around, you are interacting with
So
things.
it's like a like Astroneer and I mean not necessarily exactly because it's not conveyor belt blah blah.
Sounds like it's pretty close to
Satisfactory.
Satisfactory.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's closer to that I think than Factorio, but still a similar vibe.
Yeah.
Because there's just so many like convenience things where it's like you don't have to get caught up in the nitty gritty things. And they give you like a jetpack so you can like kind of actually do a Factorio thing where it hovers like way up above, so you're kind of getting a top-down view of your factory to place stuff down. Like that's the whole real point of the jetpack, is so you have a eagle eye view of stuff. But you could also use it, of course, like platform and all that. Or like if you want to build tunnels, they give you a gun that shoots a black hole. So you just destroy tunnels. Yeah.
Can I eat myself into it?
Maybe I maybe that's like the final unlock, the final upgrade, you know.
Death.
Just seems like something Martin would want to know.
Well, it's just that's a very nihilistic view of world, and I appreciate that. That's all. We all return to where we came from.
Oh no, he's getting sad again.
Oh yeah, that's Techtonica. It's coming to PC via Steam soon. No idea about any future platforms or anything like that, but that's kind of all I got for you so far.
Well, sounds like you're the world's leading expert on the game. So
probably not. I think the developers might be.
They
might know a little.
Schmemelopers is what I say.
What do they know?
Sure. But I think that does it for this week's episode of the TechRaptor podcast. We hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please feel free to leave us a review on whatever platform you were listening on, or share it with a friend if you haven't already. And just hit the subscribe button. That way you get new episodes of us every time we publish. And if you want more, you can check out techraptor.net. You can go see there. We publish news, reviews, features every day of the week. But if you want more of this show, we will be back in your feed next Monday. See you then.